In today's video, we're going to create coffee, a coffee cup, and a saucer, just like you see right here in this render. But before we get started, let's take a quick break and come right back. I'll see you then. Welcome back, guys. First order of business is we want to go in and create a mesh primitive of a circle, and 32 verts is fine. All I really want to do is bring down the radius to a relative size relative to the bag that looks realistic. If you happen to be off, we can edit it later. So I'm going to go into edit mode and I'm going to start doing my extrusions, because this is going to be that saucer on the bottom. So I'm going to span this out, extrude this up, and then I want to extrude and scale and bring this in. I'm going to bring it into a particular point, and then I'm going to move it downward because it shouldn't be flat. So I'm just going to move these vertices down just to make that shape. And then I'm going to extrude and scale again. Do it a couple more times. And then just to cap this off, to keep good quads, I'm going to grid fill it. Very easy. Now, just for point of information here, I'm not trying to make the world's most accurate saucer. I'm just trying to show you guys really how to put this scene together. So now I'm going to do something similar on the bottom. I'm going to take these edges here. I'm going to scale them out a little bit. And then I want to come in here where we have like the little bottom of the tray. I don't want that fully closed. I'm going to make like a little rim there. So I'm going to X-ray mode and I want to see what I'm bringing up. So I'm going to extrude this upward on the Z-axis, and then I'm going to grid fill this in. And I'm just going to straighten this up. And now I'm going to grab these edges, because once we run sub D, as usual, I want to retain this shape here. So I'm just going to run a nice little tight bevels on here, so they restrict sub D. And notice I am changing this all the way out to 1, because that'll keep the shape. It won't round it off at all. It'll keep it nice and sharp. Going to do the same up at the top, but these up here, I think I might want little slightly rounded edges. So I change that value back to 0.5. So now in the center of the saucer, I'm grabbing these 4 faces here, and then I'm going to command plus them up. Because really all I'm trying to do is get this to go down a little bit, because it's a bit flat. And as you see that little poofy part there in the center of that saucer. I'll deal with that later, but to be honest with you, you're not seeing it in the camera, and we don't want to burn all day long making a saucer. So I'm going to give it a name in the outliner. And I want to also put it in a collection of its own. And with that, in terms of modeling, we're done with this saucer. Next, we'll move on to the cup. So I'm looking at it in render view real quick. Yeah, it looks good enough. All right, so now we're going to come in here and make the coffee cup. So first thing I want to do is move my 3D cursor in the center of my saucer. I'm about to say salsa. Saucer? What I'm doing now is I'm just scaling it down, because I noticed that saucer was pretty large in comparison to the bag of coffee and the countertop. That's why measurement is really what you should be doing. I'm just not doing it in some of my videos because I'm really focused on showing you how to model something. So see, we got a circle here. This is a new object, and I'm just kind of moving it around, getting it a little bit more centered. And I'm going to do some of the same techniques as we used to build the saucer to build the cup. So I'm going to extrude it up, go in the front ortho, and I'm going to start doing my big extrusions here. So I'm extruding everything on the Z-axis, and then I'm scaling it out. And basically what I'm doing is I'm making that primitive shape of a coffee mug or a coffee cup. Really more a coffee cup than a mug, as you'll see. And we just kind of repeat this process until we have something that resembles the basic overall shape of a cup. Now, if you notice, it's open down here in the bottom. So I want to grab all of these edges, and I'm going to extrude these and scale them inward. And then I want to grid fill it just to cap it off. Now, if the grid fill is not straight, it doesn't matter as long as there's quads down there. But for aesthetics, we do it that way. So I'm going to hit Shift in to recalculate normals, because a lot of times when I've extruded like that, the normals get swapped out and they get reversed, and then you get weirdness. So now that's fixed, let me isolate this geometry and go on the bottom, and let's fill this little part in right here where we have like this little rim, this little lip. Same kind of design aesthetic we had on the saucer. So I just want to give it some thickness. So I'm bringing it in a little bit. I'm going to extrude it back up. And then I'm going to extrude and scale in. And then cap it off with a grid fill. I mean, pretty easy, guys. Now, given that we're going to run sub D on this, I want to do the same thing to the rim. I want to make sure these edges stay fairly sharp. So we select them, and then we just run a tight little bevel on them. And now if we notice in this geometry, the top of this mug is pretty flat. It's like almost razor sharp. So I want to give the top here some thickness too, because I'm thinking about making this out of glass. So let's go in X-ray mode front ortho, and let's bring down the inner walls, because essentially that's what we're making, is the inner walls of this coffee cup. And I'm just using the contour of the outer walls to guide where the inner walls go. Pretty easy modeling here. And I get all the way down here to the bottom, and I'm going to bring this all the way in and take a wild guess as to how I'm going to finish this. I'm going to extrude, scale it in, and grid fill it to cap it off. As you see right here. And this gives us an all quad solution. And there you go. And normals look good. So one thing that's missing off this cup are the handles. So we're going to do that here in a second. Let me go ahead and deal with this top up here, this rim of the cup. So I don't want this profile set to 1. I want this set to 0.5 because I want it to have a nice rounding effect. I want 2 segments, and I think that's going to look pretty good. And there's basically our coffee cup. Is it the prettiest coffee cup ever made on YouTube? Nope. But this is what we call a quick and dirty coffee cup. But I guarantee you when we're done, you're going to see in this scene, it's going to look killer. So I'm going to go to edit mode because right now I want to go ahead and deal with those handles. So I'm going to grab these 2 faces here, and then I'm going to grab 2 faces below it. And what I want to do is I want to extrude these faces outward. And just so we get a better handle on what's happening, let me disable the viewport of the sub D. And then I want to turn this into an ortho mode. And then I want to use a spin tool, which you've seen me use in a couple of videos in the past. I am by no means an expert with this tool. I have a love and hate relationship with it, as I've said before, because I'm not that great with it. But I just don't use it much, is why. but you'll see we'll make it work here. And as you see, I've got a lot more edges in there than I want, and it's causing tessellation. And you'll see when we turn sub D back on, it's like it causes shading artifacts right there because of the tessellation. A tessellation is when you got so much compact geometry together that the geometry is not able to relax and breathe, and it causes like weird looking artifacts. But you'll see how quickly and easily I deal with it. So I'm gonna add a little bit more geo up here and here to fill that in. You can see where that little dense area is. That was me screwing up the spin tool. So let's bring in the sides a little bit because that handle's a bit thick. It's not my best handle, but it's good enough for our video. I challenge you to make a better one. I know you guys can. So see, the tessellation is a big problem. So all we got to do is go in here, because we have all this dense geometry, is just go in here, select all those edges, and then hit Control X to dissolve them. And get it where you only have like a few left, and then you can double G that edge, and then, you know, move it where it needs to be so it's not right on top of another edge. Or you can use loop tools and relax it. That's another option. It's a little funky looking, but we're gonna live with it. All right, so now we do a test render. I just want you guys to know I had to do another bake of the rigid body physics because we have added a cup and a saucer in the scene, and I wanted some of the beans to land on the saucer. Also, offline, I actually I put more beans in the scene than I did on the previous video. So now that the rigid body is there, I've gone ahead and applied the transform, and I'm going in and manually deleting the beans that fell in the cup. And now I'm selecting in edit mode the inside of the cup, grabbing my 4 faces of my inside of my cup here, and I'm command plusing it up, because from here I'm gonna separate this shape out, make a new object, and that's going to be basically the coffee. I thought about doing liquid physics and all that stuff, and I said to myself very quickly I was way overthinking it. Let's just keep it simple, because this is not going to be an animation. This is going to be a static rendered scene, so it's okay if we just use mesh geometry for the coffee. Nobody's going to be able to tell the difference, and it'll be a lot lighter in the scene. Which this thing was pretty heavy because all the coffee beans. So I'm gonna grab this rim up here and then extrude scale, grid fill. I'm just giving it some thickness is all I'm doing here. And if you notice on this video, I'm not trying to over engineer any of this. And I go to proportional editing mode, and I'm just gonna grab that center in there and push it down to make it look like a meniscus a little bit, like you see with liquid, where it clings to the side of the cup, and it's a little bit higher on the edges than it is in the center. I'm just mimicking something similar. So now what I want to do, just to give it a little bit more randomness, is add a displace modifier to the coffee shape that we made. And I'm going to go in and add clouds as the image type. And I just want it to be very subtle. I want it to look like there's a little bit of turbulence in it. It should be just really subtle. You're not even going to really notice it in the render. And if you notice, the coffee is competing with the z-index of the cup. So let's scale it down. See it? It's going now inside the cup. and then I want to apply scale. And boom, coffee is done. So now we do a render and we can see it. I applied a basic shader to this. You can look at the settings here, but you'd be better off just to go find a video on how to procedurally make coffee in Blender, or going to Blender Kit and downloading a really great procedural coffee texture. All right, so let's look at the scene. So far, I'm digging it. I'm liking how this looks. So I went back in and basically made a little bit better one. And here's what the finished scene looks like. This video is pretty easy. This is the final one in this series where we basically just added a saucer, a cup, and some coffee to the scene of our coffee bag and our highly detailed beans. And with that, you guys did an awesome job and you are done. If you like this type of content, please make sure to like and subscribe and click that notification bell so you're notified when I release more videos. I've said it a while, but I'm going to try to do more and more as time permits. But this is the last one on this series, and we'll see you on the next one. Later.